Hey Model Railroaders, Steve 87th here, just like it says on the building. So this was my entry to the peanut butter cap challenge for mini prints. So tell you what, why don't we go ahead, let's zoom in a little bit, see what details we've got. And I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead and show you guys how I made this little tiny diorama with all of these mini prints. You know what? I'm really curious. I wonder how many mini prints are actually on here. Okay, so to start with, I didn't have a peanut butter lid, but I happened to find that this rotator was 3.5 inches in diameter. So the first thing I had to do was make some circles. Circles are not easy to cut. I used one of the signs to go ahead and make all the circles. You can see here where I'm cutting them all out with all of the different ones that I had to do. So we got all those done. Then I had to go ahead and glue a couple of them together and straighten up the sides and all that so that they're all relatively the same size. Okay, so after cutting, I had to build up the building. So I found these old plaster building sides that I had and put them all together. Those are all the brick different sides. Moved to the glass so that the adhesive wouldn't stick as well. Put them all together and then started building up the road section. Kind of did it in different layers. So I had a sidewalk and had the median. Saw that I was cutting in the median there. I took out that section so that I had the different areas that I wanted. Then after I got all that, I glued those together. Then I glued those together as they glued the wall sections together as a full wall section so that they could be one wall. Sanded it down a little bit on the back, was going to try to figure out how to cover that back section. Doing a little bit more work there to make sure that's all straight. And then here I'm cutting the wall to size, which was really simple. You just a couple of scribe marks and you can just cut through the plaster really easily and straight. After that, I decided I needed a back wall. Oh, sorry. Here's where I clean up the front wall with some extra plaster that was around. You just kind of put in a little bit of water and stuck it in there. Finishing off the circle on this particular one. Once that's all done, I painted some brown in there as a base color. Now I'm scribing in the lines for where the concrete is going to be at. Once I did that, I decided I needed a cover for the back wall. And I used some very fine sandpaper for that. So now here, I thought I was on fast speed, but I wasn't. So here's where we use what Second City says is the taco sauce. I went ahead and used some panel paint to go ahead and highlight where all the crevices are in the concrete. This took a little bit of time. It's a bit of a technique that you have to do. You really don't paint this in. You want to kind of let it run off the brush and run into the grooves and just let it follow the grooves. If you're not letting it follow the grooves, you start getting over, you get like paint down on the surface and you have to try to figure out how to get rid of all that paint. Not always the best thing to do. So you can see here that I'm taking my time, making sure that I get all those lines so that I have a nice base coat. Okay, so then the next thing we're going to do is start to paint. I just used some regular acrylic paints to do most of all the painting. I started off with a red. Now, my intention here at the beginning was to kind of leave the white back there for all of the masonry lines so that you could see the differentiation between the white brick and the concrete basically and the brick, and you can see for the most part it was going pretty good. The brush was a little bit dry. I took a lot of excess paint off of it, so that I wouldn't have it wet and run into all the crevices. Uh, which is really kind of tough to do. I mean, especially when you're painting brick. Kind of want to just get the top of the brick rather than do all the mortar lines. I really still am not comfortable doing mortar lines. So you can see here's a great example where you can see all of the mortar lines in white where I'm taking the red paints across. The paint is kind of a mixture of a brighter red and a crimson color red and a little bit of yellow. And I didn't mix it, entirely into the mix because I wanted to have kind of variation in brick color. I think I kind of got some of it. Now, why are you asking I didn't go all the way down? Well, the bottom wall, which is a half wall, actually has a concrete cap on both the top and the bottom of it. So I didn't want to ruin the concrete cap with any of the red, so I needed to stay out of it. So you can see here that the red is kind of different in different areas. So, I spent a lot of time trying to clean that all up. So the next one I had to come down, same mixture, but it came out a little bit different down on the bottom. I don't know why. It might have been how long that those sections have been cured and all. But again, same sort of technique, trying to keep on the top of the bricks, not get down in between them too much. And you can see it makes a really nice little area there where you've got the two different breaks for the concrete. So at this point in time, I'm trying to touch it up, trying to get a little bit darker to match up with the top, and you see it went kind of a little bit dark. The good thing about acrylics, though, because they are water-based, you can go ahead and thin them out and so forth. So this was me after I did some more work on the wall, coming up and going, well, let me see if the panel paints will work. And I started to try to use the panel paints on this. Just it wasn't successful. It wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. So we scrapped that, and I decided, all right, I'm going to have to do the concrete. So I used the Woodland Scenics concrete mix that comes in the big jar from Woodland Scenics, and proceeded to do all of the concrete areas. So now remember, all the concrete areas are the black areas, or where you see the black outlines. So this is the one side of it. This is the sidewalk area. So you can see that there's dirt in between the sidewalk and that other like parking lot or whatever. And then there is the verge between the sidewalk and the curb. I always kind of like it like that. I very rarely see sidewalks that are right up next to the curbs, except in real cities. I'm a suburban guy. So I wanted to have that little extra area there. So it was a little bit easier. I had to turn it on its side so I could get the concrete painted on the edges as well, because there is a curb there. So I have to do the edges. And then, of course, if you've got curbing and all that, most of the times the concrete is laid for the drain path. And you can see where the panel paint a little bit there really kind of highlighted what was going on. So now I'm coming in and putting in the concrete where the concrete or the cement would be over top of the bricks, or these are bigger size bricks sort of that go up there. I really like that kind of detail. I wasn't sure where I was going to put it when I was putting this together. I decided to put it on the bottom of the wall, which I think worked out best. So this is most of the painting. You can see that this is probably what took me the longest in this entire build. All right, so now we're back to painting more things. We've got the base to finish painting. So on this particular one, I'm putting in the asphalt on the asphalt road for the base. You already saw that a truck was going to go in there, and the finished product had a truck. And this one, I'm actually using the asphalt from Woodland Scenics. I kind of like the way that it paints on. It has a little bit of texture to it. At the same time, I was painting mini prints. Unfortunately, I was kind of on a time crunch, so I didn't use the stick pins. So I basically had to do a part of them, let them dry, do a part of them, let them dry. This is me attempting to use my magnifying section to be able to paint hands and faces. That was always fun. And now I'm getting ready to do the mortar lines again. I decided that I would take some of the concrete that was left over and make it really, really watery. You can see here just down at the bottom of the screen how I just damped the brush on there, trying not to get it onto the bricks, and just let it flow through the crevices. The wetter it is, the better. I have not really developed a great way to do mortar lines. This is one of my better ways, is just really, really wet. And then afterwards, I go over it with a wet, sort of a wet, damp brush to kind of get the excess off and draw more of it down. Plus, it also gives the brick some differing colors. You can see I'm going to have to go back and touch up some places because it's very, very white. This also kind of weathers the wall a little bit because most walls, after a while, especially in brick, are going to turn a little bit white. So this was very tedious. One of the reasons I don't like brick buildings that much is trying to get in the mortar lines. It is just killer. So here I am down doing the bottom section. Again, you can see that, we get it in there. We just keep trying to push it in and trying to push it in. A lot of times you can go ahead and just dry it. Just dry it with a cloth, right? So here I am, more mini prints. More and more mini prints, coloring them up, painting them up, using the tweezers, trying to get them to work. I'm working against a deadline here, so I'm doing a whole bunch of things. Little mistake there. Tell me if you see what it was. Putting the truck together, just figuring out where everything goes. Now I'm putting in some dirt, putting in some grass, going back, loading up the truck while all that stuff is drying. Now I put in the grass section over there. I kind of overdid it a little bit. More grass going in, cleaning that stuff up, a little bit of weathering. Like I said, I'm fighting a deadline right here, so lots and lots of things going on. I had to take the pole. The pole was getting in the way. I had to go fix that and keep it drying, and one of the guys didn't want to stand up. So here it is, finished. I'm going to go ahead and slow it down for you so you can see what's going on. So there's a lot going on in this picture. You can see that 3.5 inches, just big enough to put a truck on for HO's scale. I decided I wanted to do some graffiti, so I used some of the graffiti artists on the back. The guy in the red shirt was the guy who didn't want to stand up. He was a pain. Thanks, Bernard. I guess his feet weren't big enough for the size of him. We got some things laying around over there. You can see everything. I decided to go ahead and do my name up there on the top. And then coming around, I wanted to blacken the edges just to kind of give the break. You can see that I used the pole up there. That's just a painted white light. And, wanted the city workers to be hanging up the Christmas wreaths. And, if you notice the red stripe and the tan across the building, I wonder what that is. Well, I guess I needed a little bit of a French influence. So maybe it's Target. But that's my entry. Hey, everybody. So that was my mini prints build for this month of December. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tell you what, go ahead and leave a like, give a comment, share this, whatever you guys want to do. It's been kind of a long month. I was kind of happy I was able to get it done finally, but that was kind of how I went through the process. So again, thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you again next time.